Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Tiffany. I'm a school psychology intern this year, and today we're going to be talking about interventions, accommodations, and modifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more similar content, and also follow me on Instagram to connect with me on a different platform. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about in this video I either got from my classes, either from my readings or discussions with my professors and my classmates, or I've done some extra research online, so I'll put those sources down in the description box below, so definitely check those out. Like I say in every video, all of this depends on where you work, so we'll talk in general terms. Generally, there is a big difference between interventions, accommodations, and modifications. In my coursework, we talk mostly about interventions and accommodations because those are a lot of services that schools like to provide to a lot of students. Of course, things are modified as well, but I didn't get as much experience discussing modifications as much as we did interventions and accommodations, especially interventions, because there's so many programs that we use and that we have to learn about in grad school so that we can apply them or use them as a resource during internship and during our practice. So we will talk about interventions first. Interventions are targeted instruction to improve a specific skill. So it's kind of like skill building. Usually it's for a certain amount of time, so it's not like ongoing or forever. They usually set a short amount of time for the interventions because you're teaching a specific skill, and they usually collect data to see if it's working, to see if it's effective. Of course, we want to be using evidence-based interventions to make sure it's I don't want to say research-based, because like something could be research-based, but it's not evidence-based. Just because it's research doesn't mean it works well. So we want to make sure we are using interventions that's backed up by data. You can find all those interventions. I'll link those down below too. There's a couple websites that a lot of people like to use to look for interventions. I also have a couple books. And interventions are supposed to supplement the general education curriculum. By going through these interventions, students should be building the skills that they are either lacking or maybe it's a weakness for them, and hopefully they're caught up by the end of the intervention to follow the general education curriculum. And that's why it's supposed to be short term, because we want them to have like an intense period where they learn the skill and then they can go back and thrive or succeed on their own. So there are many different types of interventions, and it could really be in any area. It could be for academics, which is kind of like small group, like reading or math, or it could be one-on-one. And when I talk about academic interventions, I'm talking about things like teaching students how to read more fluently, or teaching reading comprehension techniques so that they can use those skills and tools in their general education classroom to succeed in whatever weakness that they have. This goes for all the subjects. Or it could be social emotional, so maybe they need to learn some coping skills to manage their emotions during my training. I know it's like a little bit newer, but they really drilled in MTSS and RTI and why it's so important. RTI stands for response to intervention. So it's literally like, how well do these students respond to these interventions? And you do the progress monitoring to see whether the intervention's working or not, if they're making progress, and whether you need to change anything. So interventions are huge. Not all interventions work, and all students are very unique and different. So that's why progress monitoring and collecting data are so important. You know, like the reason why like some people might not like data, like everyone should love data, but it's a lot of work. I can't blame them, especially if we're asking teachers to do it and they're really busy. So if there's a way we can help them, like streamline the process, or maybe we can go and assist in taking the data, I think it's a really good way to make sure that the data is being collected, and also to like build better relationships with teachers in the building. Of course, like I haven't done this yet. This is all in theory, but it sounds like something I would like to try in the future. All right, we're going to jump on to accommodations. So accommodations, whenever I hear accommodations, I always think of a 504. Oh man, maybe I should make a separate video on IEPs versus 504. Accommodations are where you change like the physical environment, or it's a change that removes barriers and provides equal access to learning. So when I think of accommodations, I think about like preferential seating, or like letting the students sit closer to the teacher, longer testing time, typing instead of writing with a pencil and paper. So the academic expectations are not lowered, but the way in which they do the work might be a little bit different. What helps me like really differentiate between interventions and accommodations are the different examples for each. So when I think of interventions, I'm thinking about like second step or something where students are building skills and someone's teaching that to them. And then when I think of accommodations, I think about something that we're changing in their learning environment to help them access the curriculum. So some examples are the way information is presented, how the students can respond. So the way assignments and tests are completed by the student, the setting, so where your child learns, like I said, maybe where they sit in the classroom, and then timing and scheduling. So how long the child has to do the task, or maybe it's in a different time of day. It really depends on what we're talking about. Ooh, and another one that's kind of come up in this virtual setting. A lot of younger students don't really know how to type yet, and if they're really struggling with that because they either have like a visual impairment or some kind of processing weakness or a deficit, the speech to text is really, really helpful. So if you talk into the phone or whatever device, whatever application it is, it writes it out for you, which is amazing. It's actually pretty accurate. As long as you like talk slow enough and you talk clearly, it's pretty accurate. Now we're going to be talking about modifications. And like I said, I don't really know too much about modifications, but I think it is what it sounds like. We are modifying the curriculum for those who are either really far behind or they just don't have the skills to follow the general education curriculum. So we're not covering as much material with the students, or maybe we're not testing as much. And sometimes modifications might include an alternate assessment where it's less questions or it covers less materials, because we still want to measure what they're learning and how much they're learning and how much they've mastered a topic, but maybe they're just not there yet, or they're just not capable of the rigor of what's expected in the general education curriculum. So that's why modifications exist. So there are definitely systems in place in school, and this totally depends on your state, your district, and your school, and even the level that you're working in. Systems like MTSS kind of includes interventions, accommodations, so that they can support students in as many ways as they can in the most efficient way possible. So I think it's great. I would love to talk about MTSS sometime. I think it's pretty complex, and that's why it's hard for, you know, all the schools to be on board and for all teachers and staff to know how to implement it and understand everything. But I think it is important because it's a really good way to support our students, and it's very streamlined. I hope that was helpful. I felt like I was just talking on and on about nothing. I know what I'm talking about, but like, do I really know what I'm talking about? I hope that wasn't too confusing. I will link all my sources down below, and extra resources, definitely check out the description box. I have a vlog coming out soon, so definitely check that out. I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!